I am curious. How would someone set up their studio to be successful when it comes to the idea of narrative design or world building or IP or story, whatever, all these different terms, writing? There's a lot of people out there, there's a lot of leaders in game dev. And like what advice would you give them to say, like, look, if you want to do this well, or you want to give yourself the best chance of success, here's how I would approach it.
Okay, give me a second there. Yeah, because there's so much of it is trust. So much of it is trust, and sometimes it's blind trust, right? But there's trust in the process. There's trust in the people that you hire. There's trust in the leaders and the leadership structure that's there. Um, because every game studio I have ever worked at some point becomes a culture of stress and fear. Something doesn't work, money's getting short, all these things, and at that point, you know, the eyeballs tend to fall very fast on story, on narrative, on art, because well, not as much art. Art you can see a visible contribution. Game design you can play a playable, you know, representation of what's going on. Narrative and story, it's not that it's black box, it's just that it's mostly invisible for a good chunk of it. And good writers know to check in and share and pitch. So the things that I recommend people do when they're integrating narrative into a studio is, pick a good narrative leader. And a narrative leader is a somebody who is not in it for themselves but for their team and understands how to work with different kinds of writers and different kinds of designers who make room for them to work in their individual ways. Because there'll be times when you're not going to see a lot of pages. And in those times, the writers are still working. Narrative is still working. They're still, you know, writing out beat sheets. They're still outlining the story. They're still going really hard trying to understand it and make it good and put a core emotion there and make sure that the climaxes are working and all the setups are paid off and that we're doing justice to the art and to the design. And give a good ritual, an inspirational ritual for the team. Um, One that I do when I have leadership roles or principal roles at a company is I have this little animation of a flickering campfire that I play. It's a cosmic campfire, and my friend Matt Schneck made it for me, and it's just a black screen, and it looks like an atom, like the bottom of like a old atom model, and like a flame that goes like that with sparkles coming off, and it burns through the spectrum of the rainbow, and I put that on the screen and I tell a story. It could be something from the game that we're working on. It could be something related to the game that we're working on. It takes 5 minutes. And in those 5 minutes, people are quiet and they listen and they look at this weird campfire animation that's not very, I love it. My friend Matt says it's awful. He hates it, but I'm like, I think it's beautiful. But what's happening is you're reminding people what we're building, right? And it's not just like the engineering pipeline, or it's not just the AI overmeshes. It's not just the VFX. It's not just the environmental design, not just the dialogue, right? It's not just the audio. It's how it all comes together around a campfire. Because when you tell a story to anybody else about this game that you're working on, right? Or even better, the game is out. What is that player going to tell somebody else that story is going to be? How will they tell that story to convince their friends to come play with them? And you're not going to get there for a long time. But by making a little ritual of sharing story, sharing where the narrative team is at, by sharing literally things that we've written this week, read around a fire, or sharing something that's inspiring us that we're driving towards this week, you create these inspiring moments that people can come together. And honestly, who doesn't want a meeting where sometimes you can just hear a story for a few minutes and have something to think about and chew on? This is one of my very favorite rituals that I do. Um, and it's always gotten really good results. And I mean, it gets the team engaged. It brings them together. They'll say they never thought about it that way. They'll offer to read something next time. People will start writing things.